We have a special guest on the show today, and I am simply thrilled to be bringing him on. We have reviewed one of his books before, which is Why Is My Piano Black and White? But we're going to get the full scoop on his other books as well, and everything to do with making all this stuff that students sometimes don't engage with so easily. Super duper fun. So, welcome to the show, Nathan Holder.
Hi everyone. Thanks for having me, Nicola. It's a pleasure to be here.
So great to have you here. I'm delighted you could join us. We've been emailing back and forth. This is the first time we've gotten to meet, so it's great to meet you and put a face to the book, I guess. uh, Bring it to life again. So, first of all, Nathan, could you just tell us a little bit about you, your background, your musical background, and whereabouts you are? I haven't even told people.
My name is Nathan Holder. I am a musician. I'm an education consultant as well. I'm currently working as a professor at the Royal Northern College of Music. And as you can hear by my accent, I'm from London. And yeah, I'm a saxophonist mainly at the moment. But like I said before, the piano was the instrument that I first started on, the first instrument that really fascinated me, and yeah, really, it's been amazing in my career. Just having knowledge of the piano and in different things that I've been able to do has been really incredible. So that's a bit about me.
Tell us about your first book then, because I feel like you've gone in a different direction now. But why did you decide to write the first book, which is I Wish I Didn't Quit Music Lessons? Is that right?
Yeah, so my first book, which came out 2018, I wrote that because, I quit playing the piano. I was in my early teens, and I just fell out of love with it. I didn't like it anymore. Didn't like doing scales and different things, and so I quit. But fortunately for me, anyway, I got back into it just because I um I found out what I wanted to do with it for myself. But I know for a lot of people, my age and even older, they get to a certain point where they wish they didn't quit their instrument. They wish they didn't quit the piano or the cello or whatever it was. So I wrote that book just to try and give some advice, I guess, to parents, to especially to parents, because I think sometimes we forget how pivotal parents are in music education, right? Like it's not as easy as just sending your child off to a lesson every
Mm.
week. There can be a lot of input that parents can give that will really help. So yeah, the book is more geared towards parents, giving them ideas about how to support little things. Doesn't have to be anything major. You don't have to be a piano player yourself, but just little things to engage kids to help them, I think, foster a love for the instrument themselves rather than them feeling that they have to do it because you're paying for lessons. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's wonderful. And it's wonderful that you came back to it. And I do think that you're unusual. So great to have that advice back out there. Because we hear, I mean, there's a lot of piano teachers in the room, and what we hear all the time from parents who come to us for lessons for their kid, they say, my mum let me quit and I've regretted it ever
Mm,
since. Or we get them as adult students and they say, I wish I kept it up, but now I have to start from scratch again.
yeah.
So that's a great, you saw a need in your own life maybe, or something that could have gone a different path in your own life and decided to put a book out there. So then your more recent books follow a sort of series. Can you tell us a bit about the motivation behind those?
Sure. So after doing I Wish I Didn't Quit, I thought about, it seemed like it helped a few people. So I thought, okay, how can we expand it? Are there things that are different for the piano that are going to be different for the clarinet, that be different for the flute, etc., etc. So I was thinking about how to do that, and then really realized that, um, how much when I was just kind of based around my experience and from speaking to other young people who are learning at the moment, how I realized that I went through years of learning about the piano without really ever knowing anything about the piano itself, right? I never learned, for example, why is the piano black and white? I never really learned how it was made, never really learned especially anything about other people who had made amazing music on the piano. I'd heard stuff, and obviously, I'm dating myself, right? I didn't grow up with YouTube, so it was very different for us growing up where, if you hear something on a CD, there's no way of knowing unless you can look in the CD, right? Unless someone tells you. But if no one tells you, you don't know who these people are. And sometimes just by seeing someone, you might connect with them, whether they're a different, the same, background as you, maybe the same ethnicity as you, maybe they come from the same country as you, maybe you just like the music and you want to hear more of their music. But if you don't know who they are, you don't know where to go, right? So the basis of this book was really to say, hey kids, here's some information about the piano. Um, Maybe you'll find something in there that helps you to continue to engage with the piano. Maybe not in the traditional ways, but maybe differently. But it's important to know that's okay too, right? It's an instrument to be played and many people have played it in many different ways. So you don't have to be stuck to playing it one way. You know what I mean? Check out this person because they did it this way, and this person did it this way, and they did it that way. She did it this way, and hopefully then you can go forward and you can make music or you can play what you want to play and not feel like you can't do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. It's such a good point because, I mean, most other instruments, or at least a lot of them, you have to get involved in some way with the maintenance of it, and therefore you learn about how it actually works. Like if you're actually making the reeds, or if you have to tune your violin or something like that, you have to understand it a bit more. And then the piano is this box. It's one of the reasons why a few years ago I started doing something. I don't know if I've told you this, Nathan. We call it Naked Piano Week. And it's because I teach on an upright piano, so we take off all of the casing for a week and we just explore the inside. So yeah, just getting people involved and not scared of it and not feeling like it's some mysterious thing.
Hmm.
It
Yeah,
has to be done a
exactly.
certain way. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a really cool idea. Naked Piano Week. I like that.
Yeah, it's a bit tongue in cheek, but we like it. That's awesome. Okay, and then from there, I think your next book, your third book, was Where All the Black Female Composers. Is that right?
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Again, aimed towards, young people, um, just just giving them another view on what a composer can be or what composers are, right? Like I grew up not knowing about any of these women at all. And you know for me it was important for me to write something which showed many different people around the world that there are people who don't just look one particular way, who have written
Hmm.
amazing music. So I can only imagine, for a little girl, a little black girl, to see that there are people who have made music who look like her. Hopefully that can inspire someone around the planet to make music, not even just classical compositions, but to make music, to know it's safe, that they're not going to be the first, they're not going to be rejected from what they do, because there have been people who have gone before them. Um, and yeah, simple as that, really. It's not a very big book, but we try to pack it full of lots of information and playlists so that you can go away and listen as you learn about these amazing women as well.
That's awesome. And from those two books, then, or your new one, which you could also mention, do you have a favorite little fact or something you often think really jives with students that they love hearing about?
You know what? There's so many, but I think one of the biggest concepts, I think, is a kind of came from the story of Pantot Perkins. There's two actually. So Pantot Perkins, he's the oldest person ever to win a Grammy. He won a Grammy when he was 97 years old, I believe. And it's just that idea that I know, especially now that we're on YouTube and we see so many different, young, and I say
Mm.
young, like little children doing amazing
3-year-olds,
things.
yeah.
And you could be 15 and think, oh my gosh, I'll never be as good as them. And you could be 30, you could be 50 and think, I'll never be as good as them. And I think that story of Pantel Perkins, it made me personally just think, actually, there's no limit on, age doesn't have to limit you, right? If he can win a Grammy at 97, there's we can keep learning from the age of 10 all the way through, our whole lives. We learn our whole lives. And that's one thing I think is important, when I teach, or speaking to, especially to young people. It's important for me to get the message across that even if you're not exactly where you want to be today, right?
Mm.
We're not just learning up until you're 18 and then you go off and do your thing, right? We're lifelong learners, all of us. So if he can do it at that age, and there's others, there's this Ethiopian nun who's in actually in both books. Emohoy Mariam Gebru, who she just celebrated, I think, her 98th birthday or 97th birthday.
Wow.
Um, and again, someone who's been making music for years, still doing what she's doing, I think it's incredible. So it's just to remember that, age, you don't have to be limited by age at all. Um, I think it's important for kids to know that, just keep working because you never know when something's going to happen, when something's going to come up. And there's numerous examples in these books of people who, you know, got their first break when they're 40 or 50 years old, right?
Yes.
Um, yeah.
Well, that's wonderful. And it's a wonderful message for adult students as well, because we get adult students in and they watch those YouTube videos and they get so discouraged. And they're like, I know, right? Like they have it in the back of their mind, like, that's not me, it's fine, it's okay. But at the same time, it's really painful for them to watch. Like it's not a good experience. And especially when they're learning a piece and they want to look up someone playing it, and if I can only find examples of kids playing it,
Mm,
so they end up watching these videos, and yeah, it's not so good. So that's so
yeah.
inspiring, wonderful for them to hear.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. We're all learning. And even those children, they're still learning as well. Let's not forget. And
exactly.
there's a bit of a chapter in the I Wish I Didn't Quit book which talks about prodigies and just that whole, you know, there's a lot of stories behind these young people that we don't often know.
Mm,
Even like Mozart, for example, there's a whole thing on him, and he wasn't just born with this talent, in my opinion. There's a
yeah,
lot of things that came along with it. So, yeah, it's not always what you see is exactly what is actually going on sometimes.
yeah.
Um, yeah,
No, so true. And you brought up one of my least favorite words, which is talent. Because I think people
okay.
just have so many misconceptions about, oh, well, people are musical or they're this or they're that. And no, people work hard. Like, that's the main thing that happens.
Yes.
They put in a lot of effort. Even Mozart, by age, whatever. Yeah, it's not, the 10,000 hours rule is too often cited, but it does emphasize the point, I think.
Yeah, like to say you're talented, sometimes it seems to erase, the 10, 15, 20 years of solid work that you've put in to get to that point, right?
Exactly.
Um,
Yeah. I
yeah.
hate that as a compliment. It's not a compliment to me. No, I'm not talented. This was bloody hard work. Excuse me. Anyway, Kelly said, not talent, aptitude. Yes, there is aptitude. I'm not trying to say
Mm,
there isn't natural ability, but the bigger factor for most people is the hard work. So it's good to see that
mm,
put into action, even by 97-year-olds and by kids and
yeah,
by everyone. Yeah.
exactly.
So, there was a question while you were away, where you were, from Lydia about whether the books are directed mainly to parents or to students or to teachers. And I sort of answered it. The first one would be really for parents, and then the next ones would be really directed at students. But it brought to mind a similar question, which is, how do you think teachers could use, especially the last three books, in your studio, like keeping them on hand, drawing from bits and pieces, starting a lending library? Have you seen teachers or heard from teachers using them in different ways in their studio?
Yeah, so I've heard of some teachers. I mean, so obviously, if you just you see it, it's very much geared towards
Yeah.
children, right? Just get this, yeah, the mirroring is weird, and so because it's been broken into different genres, it's easy if you want to kind of go from hop across genre to genre. It's not a book that's intended for you to read, straight through if you don't want to, right? If someone expresses an interest in learning something in a blues style, there's a section on different people who have written stuff in that style, and we've also got playlists as well in the back, so which you can access via these QR codes,
Mm.
and that's in this book and it's in the Black Female Composer book as well. So um, any way you want to use it, if it's just to mention somebody at the end of a lesson, whether it's to supplement a particular piece, to look at if I've included that person in here, for example, or if you want to just introduce someone to a new song, just say, well, we're going to listen to a song by so and so, and here's a little bit about their lives. Here we go. Or that amazing song by I don't know, like for example, I just opened it up and George Duke is here, who's
Mm.
played with Michael Jackson and so many Frank Zappa, and he's played with so many artists, right? So there's easily you can make links to certain records that children might already know, or young adults might already know, or adults might already know, um, directly back to piano players who might have played on those records, right? And then explore them further. So it's a reference book. Use it however you want to use it, whenever you want to use it. But the main thing is really we're just trying to give everyone a bit more, um, just more ideas about different people who have made music on the piano specifically, and in just so we can inspire more people to keep going and just to enjoy the process of learning about the piano. That's all it is, really, just enjoying it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I would suggest teachers also get a copy for themselves, even if they are going to give it to students, because it's interesting for you to read, number one. Like, it doesn't matter that it's time for kids, it's still fun to read. I mean, I think so. Um, but also, you can draw tidbits out, and that's so useful for your teaching because you have that information there and it's written in a kid friendly style. So you can draw from that and have those little nuggets which bring music to life in your lessons as well. So you have those to share with kids and then get them to get a copy of the book as well. So speaking of getting a copy of the book, Nathan, people are asking where to get it. So is the best place to send them to your site or
Um,
Amazon or?
Depends where you are. So, from me, it's the ybooks.co.uk. You can also get them on Amazon. This book will be made available on Kindle very soon as well. It's not at the moment. This is just in paperback, but you can get it Amazon, Barnes and Noble, like many of these online stores you can get them from. And yeah, then we've also got a few, like you can see the poster
Yeah, I
in the
love that.
background as well, which comes from me. But yeah, we're all over the internet. But the main places are, normally Amazon, Barnes and Noble. I think even yeah, Walmart as well.
Yeah.
We're in online. So
All the spots. But I mean, if they
yeah.
go to your site, which is the ybooks.co.uk, which is on the screen, they can find all the things there.
Yep, everything's there. Also, like I said, posters. We have a couple t-shirts if you're interested in, t-shirts like
Yeah.
this. Just keep asking why. There's no harm in asking why, all the time. And a few other bits and pieces as well we've got on there. I've a podcast as well, which you can find on the website. Where I go through different people through music, intended for children again, just to give them like a 7 to 10 minute insight into the life of a particular person, um, which you might find really interesting. So
Yeah, absolutely. And that would be great for those teachers watching that are doing labs. I know they like to have podcasts on hand if you're doing a music lab. And also, I'd suggest this time of year for suggesting for summer so that they stay in touch
mhm.
with music if they're not going to be at the piano or whatever. Get them onto the podcast, get them listening to it in the car on their road trips. And
Yeah,
yeah,
definitely.
engaging with it. Well, thank you so, so much for coming on the show today, Nathan. This was great. It was great to get to meet you properly and to learn a bit more about the inspiration behind your books.
No problem. Thank you for having me. Thank you everyone for being here, and apologies for all the technical issues.
Not at
This is
all.
2021. We're still getting to grips with it all, right?
Absolutely. Thank you so much. I'll talk to you soon.
Take care. Bye.